Well, this week on Square Off, how Ravens Hall of Famers Ray Lewis and Ed Reed got involved in the politics of the war in Iran. First, here is this week's panel.
I'm Chris Kennedy.
I'm Shannon Wright.
I'm Jim Astrachan.
And I'm Phil Bell.
And I am Richard Sher, your moderator for just 42 years. Welcome to Square Off, and we welcome to the Square Off team the fabulous Phil Bell. He rings the bell. He's very swell. He is the founder and CEO of the Tower K Group, which is an investment bank dedicated to nonprofit organizations. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Richard. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be here with all of you in this wonderful city of Baltimore.
Wow. They said you were special, and now you definitely are. Well, let's kick off this week's Square Off, since we are sort of up to here in news from the war. We kick off this week's Square Off with a Baltimore Ravens shocker. Ravens fans were ecstatic this past week. We finally got a superstar pass rusher, Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders, giving up 2 first-round draft picks. But guess what? He failed the physical. The deal is off. And joining us now to talk about this is the voice of Square Off. Let's welcome Howard Mallison.
Thank you, Richard.
Your thoughts on this situation with the Ravens?
I'll give you my thoughts. I believe that they did not realize that he was as injured as he was. I think it was a legitimate mistake. I think Eric DeCosta knows what he's doing. I think he replaced him on a 3-year contract with a player a little bit older, but on a 4-year contract who is as good as Max Crosby, if not better. Plus, they got the 2 draft picks back that they gave up for Max Crosby. And I think that's the way the Ravens have always operated. The Crosby thing is a little different. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, some people are saying that the Ravens were just using Crosby as a fallback and they really wanted Hendrickson. And DeCosta came out and said, well, we really wanted both of them. And that's not a realistic thing. Both of them would have eaten up 20% of the Ravens salary cap, which is impractical when you have the Lamar Jackson salary as well as 53 players that you have to pay. The reality is that Dr. Daniel Cooper, who's one of the best knee surgeons in the country, looked at the MRI of Crosby and determined that there was long-range cartilage and bone damage. And why is that significant? Why is that crucial? The meniscus, which is what's involved here, is a C-shaped pad of cartilage that basically provides a shock absorber between the upper leg and the lower leg, the femur and the tibia on the knee. And when you do not have intact cartilage, especially when there's so much lateral movement for an NFL player, it doesn't make any sense to invest $92 million guaranteed dollars for a guy like Crosby. I think they got a much better deal with Hendrickson, who's only $60 million of guaranteed dollars. Hendrickson's only had 1 surgery, whereas Crosby's had 8. And Hendrickson has 81 career sacks, whereas Crosby only has 69. Although he's 4 years older, the Ravens got a tremendous player, and I don't fault them at all for doing what they did.
I don't either.
I gotta disagree with you a little bit there. Think about it. We're talking about, in football terms, 4 years older. That is a very, very big deal. Now, what I do agree is that I think it is a good deal to have somebody where you're still able to get your draft picks, continue to build through the draft, which the Ravens have done very well in building their defense in general over the years. However, missing out on a generational talent like Crosby when yes, he just had knee surgery. And let's remember, he's still going to be in the NFL with the where are they now located, Raiders?
Las Vegas.
Oh, Las Vegas, yeah. I think that was a big mistake, but I do think that overall, you're not going to really remember this unless he has an absolute breakout season, which I don't see happening.
Now,
the other problem is, if Lamar would have restructured his contract the day before, do you think the same thing still would have happened?
I still think so, because keep in mind we're talking about the picks, and the picks are really the big deal here. They are more valuable than either one of these players. So even if he does that, I still think they probably go ahead and pass because they had a nice idea. Hey, let's do it. Now let's not. And this was more them using the medicals as a way to back out as opposed to the medicals actually being a real issue.
All right, hold on, hold on. I want to say something to our Reverend before you speak about the Baltimore Ravens, and that is Shannon Wright is now a candidate for governor of Maryland. Her running mate is Reba Hawkins, and they become the first all-female, all-black gubernatorial ticket in the history of the state of Maryland. So congratulations. Now let's hear from you on them.
Are we talking football?
Yes, we are.
Huh? Oh, just kidding. So in my humble opinion, I think the Ravens have put themselves in a place where they have to be really careful with their dollars because of all the dollars that they've given Lamar Jackson. And I understand on paper that he's a great player, but we seem to have a lot of injuries. We seem to have a lot of emo kind of things with restructuring and making sure the money's right before a toe is stepped on the field. So I think that's kind of handicapped them a little bit. With that being said, I don't think they should have ever given up their picks. And I'm glad they got a chance to do a reset and a redo on that and have those picks back. They need to restructure Jackson, and they need to really not going forward, not put all their eggs in one basket and really build out the team as a whole.
So Crosby is back with the Raiders. And the Ravens, as you know, have signed that other great super pass rusher, and that's Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals. He is signed on for 4 years. That could be great. How about that? Howard, any final word on this before we move along?
I think that the Ravens always find a way to get the better players for what they're looking for. They'll either do it through the draft, they'll do it through free agency. And I don't think, look, we had an off year this past year. Everybody thought that they were going to the Super Bowl. Maybe next year. You never know. It's football any given Sunday. That's all I can say.
All right. Thank you, Chuck Thompson. Very good. Howard Mallison. Coming up next on Square Off, why are Ray Lewis and Ed Reed in the news about, well, you'll find out. Here's the voice of Square Off once again, the fabulous Howard Mallison. Howard. You're muted, Howard.
Thank you, Richard.
Sure.
If you or your family or family members experience personal injury, medical malpractice, or nursing home neglect, it's time to call the law firm of Barry Glazer. He has the legal team and resources to go after the big insurance companies to get you every penny he can. And with an in-house medical doctor and nurse, his attorneys work on the toughest and most complex medical malpractice cases. Barry Glazer is the best advocate for the injured, disabled, and medically abused. So give Barry Glazer a call at 410-547-8568. Let him know you heard about him on Square Off. And with so many cars on the road and distracted drivers everywhere, auto accidents are going to happen. And if you've experienced an accident, the insurance companies can't tell you where to take your car. That's why more and more drivers are trusting their auto repairs and maintenance to leading edge auto body and mechanical repair. They work on all makes and models and offer free pickup and delivery anywhere in the Baltimore area. So give them a call at 410-443-6433 or visit them at 5807 Falls Road in the heart of Mount Washington. They make your car look and run like new again. Pappas restaurants and sports bars are synonymous with the best crab cake you'll ever taste.
Yummy.
But there's a lot more to the Pappas menu. A whole host of specialty dishes you won't find anywhere else. So for fine dining, special occasions, or just watching sports, Pappas should be your number one choice. That's why Oprah put the Pappas crab cake on her favorite things list. And Pappas ships their crab cakes all over the country with 4 locations: Parksville, Cockeysville, Glen Burnie, and Bel Air. I guarantee you'll be a Pappas regular. Back to you, Richard.
All right, Howard, good job. And I want to remind you all that my wife's car is at Leading Edge. Jeff Siegel runs a wonderful shop I'm telling you, take your car there. You will not be disappointed. All right, so here we go. Two Ravens Hall of Famers, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, have taken down the Trump White House. Very clean tackles, by the way. Both plenty angry that they are featured in a video cheering on Trump's war with Iran. These video clips of Ray and Ed in action amidst war clips, bombs being dropped and missiles hitting. And so we have to find out how you feel about this. Neither gave permission. Phil, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I love what the White House has been doing on their social media with everything, whether it's bowling in some cases or you have the Ravens players in other cases. It's been a really good way to make use of how current conflicts are going to be covered in the social media era. Now, that said, I'm not surprised that Ray Lewis and Ed Reed are doing this, because this is the same thing we see anytime there is something politically related, because you play music at a rally and then suddenly that band says, wait, you can't use our music because we don't like you. So I'm not surprised by this. I don't even think it's a big deal, but I hope that even if they have to remove them from those videos, that the White House continues to do this, because it's a great way to capture the zeitgeist.
Jim Astrachan.
It's an invasion of their privacy. It's called. It is a true depiction, but it places them in what's called a false light, because it associates them. It appears to be a sponsorship or an endorsement with a man who is probably the most hated man, disliked man in the entire universe. So that association alone, if it had happened with a non-president, would have resulted in a lawsuit, and a court would have removed those videos from that depiction almost immediately. I totally understand why they are upset to be associated with his efforts, him, and this murderous event that's happening in the Middle East.
All right, let's hear from our newest orthopedic surgeon, Chris Kennedy. Go ahead, Dr. Kennedy.
No, I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. No, but as a medical malpractice lawyer, I deal with these orthopedists. But, Richard, I'd be interested in hearing the copyright and trademark take on this. Jim happens to be one of the top copyright lawyers in the United States and has done this at the highest level for half a century. So I'd really like to hear his take on the copyright issues here, particularly, Jim, whether you think, although it might be a de facto violation of copyright laws, whether the fair use doctrine could allow it, since it's brief, it's limited, it's non-commercial, and it is providing commentary or opinion or political speech. And also your take on whether you think the Digital Millennium Copyright Act would entitle the NFL to immediately demand to have it taken down.
Chris, that's much too much more detail than we need to get to, that we want to get to today. Jim, can you summarize that in a quick few seconds?
I can, and I think those are really astute comments. It might be a fair use. That's a factual question. It might be. And the Digital Millennium, you're talking about removing the NFL's identification from the film. It's not a trademark issue because it's not a commercial use, but I do believe it is an invasion of privacy, false light, because of the association.
Very good.
That would place these people in bad stead.
All right. One of these video clips shows Ray making a key block as Chris McAllister takes a missed field goal, 107 yards for a Ravens touchdown. Another clip shows Ed Reed making a massive hit on Colts cornerback Wayne Bacon in 2004. Reverend Wright, is this right or wrong?
So I'm not even going to try to pretend. I've never played a lawyer, so I'm not going to try and do that part. But I think the idea in marketing these days is to be able to use real life and positive imagery mixed in to kind of craft the messaging or the feel around whatever it is the topic is. And I think that's what they were trying to do. And I think they did it well by using these gentlemen. Now, the question is, did they have the right to use the video? And I don't obviously know the law, but I'm sure these are clips that were readily found on the internet here, and I don't think they went and, made them. These are things that are already out there. People do compilations all the time.
Here's what Ray had to say.
Let me just jump in. I agree with Shannon on that to a certain extent. Now, I don't, pretend to be a lawyer, but I do know all the sports leagues are pretty maniacal about pointing out how they own all of the content. So to whatever extent that content is able to be used by fair use and the like, their dispute would be with the NFL and not with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed.
All right.
Well, it's not about the
hold on a second.
individuals that are being depicted. The content is one thing, but these rights of the individuals are really what are being complained of.
That leads me, Jim, up to this quote from Ray. He said, quote, "I did not approve my image or football highlights being used to compare football to the war. The game I love is about discipline, brotherhood, and respect. War is something completely different. Lives are at stake. God bless our troops and their families." End of quote. Anybody want to talk more about this? Well, then we're going to stop and get
Here's something I'd like to say. When you're in football and when you're at that level, you have to know that your clips, your picks, your snippets, all of that lives on far beyond the time that you are in that uniform. It's online and people use it all the time. Now, this was a high profile usage, so it came to their attention, but they ain't got no standing on that.
Yeah, and what would happen if somebody just makes a video, a funny video of, Ray Lewis body slamming, I don't know, some guy from Whataburger? What would you say then? Oh, hey, wait, come on, take it down. I have privacy.
Well,
you probably would.
You folks aren't appreciating the nuance of what Jim's saying, that the false light tort, it's an intentional tort, meaning Ray Lewis and Ed Reed could get punitive damages if that were pursued. Now, although the White House might have governmental immunity, there's a chance that could be overcome. But I think his point is excellent, that it is a de facto case of false light invasion of privacy.
All right. And on that note, we're going to stop. We're going to hear from Howard, and then we're going to get to the war in Iran and what your thoughts are. Howard.
Thanks, Rich. If you're experiencing any kind of foot pain that requires medical attention, I recommend Dr. Kelly Gagan, a well-respected board-certified podiatrist and heel specialist. No one is immune from foot problems. Also, if your concern is the appearance of your feet, Dr. Gagan has a long record of success using laser treatments to correct your issue. Plus, they're safe, painless, go right to the root of the problem. So don't suffer from the agony of the feet. Start winning with a call to Dr. Gagan at 410-753-4422. Set up an appointment. Once again, that's 410-753-4422. And for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your choice for a great meal starts at the Double T Diner. And all the menu choices are served the entire day. Double T Diner has locations all over town: Route 40 West, Perry Hall, White Marsh, Bel Air, Laurel, Annapolis, Pasadena, and the EC Diner in Ellicott City. You've never seen a menu with so many selections. It's the Double T Diner. It's the reason why the Double T Diner wins so many reader polls. So Monday nights also are a lobster night at By the Docks, part of the Double T family. Let them know you heard about them on Square Off. Now back to you, Richard.
Kelly Gagan is a podiatrist. She's excellent, and you might say she is terrific. All right. Let's get to this. The U.S. military says a KC-135 refueling aircraft that was supporting operations against Iran crashed in western Iraq, killing all 4 of the 6 crew members. And that, of course, is very sad. And we also had 2 terrorist incidents yesterday, one at a synagogue in Michigan, and the other on the campus of Old Dominion in Virginia. And let's sum up the war. What are your thoughts about what's going on right now? Chris.
So the Secretary and the Joint Chiefs, Chairman Kane, gave another briefing today. I think their tactical approach has been impressive, but their strategic approach has been unclear. I think there's three components to the war. There's the conventional warfare, the asymmetrical warfare, and the economic warfare. And I think that Trump and Hegseth and Kane and Cooper have decided that they want to start and finish the conventional war aspect before moving on to the other two and wiping out all the offensive capability and manufacturing capability of Iran. And they're doing a pretty good job of that, actually. I think that the thing that they are really focusing on are the mobile missile launchers. When the war started, Iran had about 600 of those, and as of Wednesday, they were down to 120. If they can get rid of the remaining mobile missile launchers, which are hard to detect, then they won't be able to use their tens of thousands of remaining missiles, and they will basically be neutralized. Then I think they'd switch to the asymmetric warfare, which are these fast attack boats of which they have 3,000, and each of them can carry 3 mines. That's what's worrying them about the Strait of Hormuz. Those boats are hiding in underground tunnels on the large island that sits off the southern coast of Iran. Our satellites can't see those boats. But once we take care of the conventional approach, we can get our drones in there and our planes and knock out those underwater tunnels, take out the boats, and then I think the strait will open back up and the oil will flow and the economic warfare will be reduced as well.
Go, Jim.
Yeah, I think the Iranians, and this will be controversial, are winning the war right now. And they're doing it by exercising leverage over the price of worldwide oil. They are claiming that it's going to rise to $200 a barrel. And yesterday they issued terms to back off the restriction of shipments through the Straits of Hormuz, telling the United States and Israel that they have to have complete autonomy in their country. The United States has to make reparations for the damage that's been done. And I quite frankly don't see right now where Trump has any place to go. I think he's backed into a corner with inflation, the cost of oil, his tariff problems, and he stands on a precipice of potentially crashing our economy because of this war that he entered into without any really concrete goals other than regime change. So that's what I think about this war right now.
Bill, go on.
Well, safe to say I disagree with Jim. I think Chris gave a very, very good analysis of what's going on there. First of all, overall, I'm very happy with what is happening, and this is probably the most consequential conflict that we have had in my 44 years on this earth, because it is so critical that we gain another westernized, secular, representative republic in that region that is reasonable. Number one. Number two, I believe this will also be a positive in giving us control of the Strait of Hormuz to make sure that no country is able to disrupt oil shipments in the future. Number three, the fact that we are giving several generations of Iranians freedom, something that they have not known and something that so many of their fellow countrymen who are now here are excited about. That should truly be heartwarming and is a positive for our country. And finally, this also gives us the opportunity to decouple, the quotation of oil. Why is oil quoted on the world marketplace when we have so much of it right here? That should be having no impact. And I think that is a change you're going to see in the future. So bravo to President Trump and his team. They have a job to finish, but I think they're getting close.
In his campaign, President Trump did say that prices were going to go down. Cost of gas going down. Cost of food will go down. None of the seems have happened. I saw a woman on television the other night. She filled up her big SUV, one of those big ones, $96.50. Who wants to speak up about what's going on?
I just want to say also, Richard, that to the comment that we are an oil producer, we are an oil producer, but the type of oil we produce is not suitable for refinement to gasoline. It's not high sulfur oil. So we are dependent on this Middle Eastern oil for that purpose.
Now, I'll respond to that. First of all, that's not accurate. It's always very interesting whenever there's a debate about oil, whatever oil we're going after is somehow not suitable for use. That's what they said about Venezuela. That's what they've said in the past about oil sands. But yet somehow we find a way to do it. But let's talk about the prices for a second. Yes, President Trump did say that prices are going to come down. They did to a certain extent. They have not come down enough. But the way that you get prices to come down isn't by telling McDonald's that they've got to lower theirs. It's by more people getting into the market and deciding to compete. What we have not seen yet is more people getting into a variety of markets to compete. That is something that will happen over time. Unfortunately, inflation can happen quickly, but solving that does not happen as quickly.
All right,
But
Chris,
putting
go
the
ahead.
groundwork
No,
has happened.
Yeah.
Hold on, Chris Kennedy, and then
Sure.
Pastor
Yeah,
Wright.
so there's always a shortage of refineries. Jim's point's well taken. Around the world, there's just not enough refineries. And I think that no matter how this turns out, there's still going to be a big affordability problem for Trump, as well as an Epstein problem as well. But the real elephant in the room are the 1,000 pounds of 60% enriched uranium that still sit buried inside Iran. If that 60% is further enriched to 90%, then Iran will have 10 nuclear warheads. That is something that has to be dealt with. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to get to that or what's going to be dealt with it, but that has to be addressed before this thing is over.
And I think that means that he's going to have to send troops into Iran to go after that uranium. They can't do it by bombing. And Iran has a military comprised of close to 1 million active duty soldiers across 3 branches. So you're talking about a really long-term effort that's going to be very, very bloody.
There are also fears now that an enemy attack might happen on our soil, particularly in California. Governor Gavin Newsom says there is no threat, at least now. I don't know. It seems to me there's always a threat. But what do you think about that? Attack on the homeland. Go ahead, Shannon.
I think anybody that does not believe that's possible is asleep. This, I'm going to make this as quick as I can. We have a broken immigration system. That immigration system, that broken system has allowed folks to come in that we don't know anything about. Those folks have been sleeping and waiting and are now happy to do things like in Michigan and in Virginia. This is part of the reason why, one, we need a stronger immigration plan and tactic to be able to undo some of the stuff that's been done. That's number one. Number two, we need in the state of Maryland to get rid of this ridiculousness with regards to handicapping our officials. With our proximity to DC, leadership should be ramping up the security efforts and the cooperation and collaborations with all of our state and federal partners, not trying to handicap them and break them down. The shooting in Texas, now Michigan and Virginia, shows us where these things are going. And any, quote, leadership that is not prepared to safeguard their people is a leadership we don't need.
The attack that Kash Patel was talking about was not coming from immigrants. It was coming from a boat that could be as far off the coast as 600 miles, which is the range for the drones that the Iranians use. That's what he was talking about.
I'm not talking about that. I was very clear. I said Michigan, Texas, and Virginia. I was clear.
And Richard, I think an immigration deal would be wonderful. And I really wish we had one. Kind of like the one that Senators Lankford and Murphy cut as a bipartisan deal in the summer of 24. And the night before the Senate vote, when that was going to pass, Trump called Lankford and said, kill it, because I want to keep the immigration issue alive for the 2024 campaign, because I need that issue. If he had not done that, we would have had a bipartisan immigration deal in the summer of 2024. But Trump did what was best for him, not what was best for the country.
Exactly.
Thank God Trump killed that deal, because
That
let's remember what it would have done, which was allowed millions of illegal immigrants to still come in.
Everybody in the GOP disagrees
everyone
with
Shannon
you, Phil.
talked about would still be coming in.
Hold on, guys.
53 senators in the United States Senate who are Republicans disagree with what you just said, because they were all going to vote for that.
They can disagree with me all they want. I have a problem with people who we do not know and we cannot vet coming in our country, because we do not know what they are going to do. And if there is a concern, as we have seen in Technicolor in the past few days, about people coming here either illegally or in some cases legally and being naturalized and
your
causing
silence,
trouble. We
One at a
need
time,
to
please.
stop that.
your silence
One
in not
at a
wanting to
time.
talk about that immigration bill is deafening, Phil. Your silence on that is deafening.
I just told
Wait,
you,
hold up.
I'm glad the bill did not pass. It would not have solved the
You're the
problem.
only one
What
in
I
the
am
Republican
not-
Party who feels that way.
No, he's not.
I am
So let's
happy to be a
realistic
party
then.
of one.
Quiet,
Let's be
Phil.
realistic,
Oh,
because
just a
unless
minute.
you
Go ahead,
talk to all of the
Shannon.
Republicans, you can't possibly say that. So let's stick to facts here. And the facts are, and I'm going to break this down real simple so everybody watching and listening can get it. When you have a house and you have your home, you don't leave your door open so folks can just walk in and out, do you? You make
I
sure
did.
you do. Well,
did.
shame on you. That's
When I
your
lived in
business.
Chestertown, I had no problem with leaving my doors open and leaving the house for 24 hours.
You're special. That's great.
I am.
The
That's great.
average
He
person
is.
in this country does not leave their front door open for people to just wander through. Matter of fact, they have locks, they have alarms, and they might even be 2A supporters and have something else waiting for whoever crosses their door path. Now, if you can protect your borders in that manner, why would you think it makes sense when there's a principle we learn as kids? Close the door, lock the door. You don't
Shannon,
just have
you're
strangers
ignoring the
walking in
same
your
thing
house.
Phil did. The
Excuse me.
2024 bill
Excuse
Hold
me.
on,
was
Chris.
I know you're an
pro-Republican.
attorney and you're
It
used to
was
cutting people off, but you're not
pro-Republican,
going to
and
do that
every
here.
senator
Excuse
in
you.
the
This
Republican
is
Quiet.
Party
what's
was going
called
to vote for.
bullying.
You
And I
all don't
know
want
that
to
you're a
deal with
bully,
the
Frank,
fact
Chris,
that
but
Chris.
this
you
is
lost
not
the
the way we
immigration
do things.
issue in the
And
summer of
your party is why we're
2024
in
Hey,
the
Chris.
because
situation
Trump
we're
told
in.
you to.
Chris, you know better than this to be talking way over Shannon. I know we didn't hear what you said and we didn't hear what Shannon said. What in a few words, Chris, were you trying to say?
I was trying to say that the 2024 bill that was so pro-Republican, that would have solved these immigration issues, was going to pass unanimously in the United States Senate. Langford spent 6 months working with Chris Murphy to cut this deal, and it was as favorable an immigration bill that you've ever seen. McCain, if he would have come back, would have loved it, all right? But Trump selfishly stole that so that he could get back in the White House
All right,
to
Chris.
avoid going to jail.
Trump
And
did
he
not
did
want
what
to
was
have
best
a
for him,
campaign issue
not what was
taken
best
off
for
the
the
table.
country.
Hey
Trump
guys,
did not want to have a campaign issue
This is
taken off
amazing.
the
You
table
guys
by
are soothsayers, can see what the dead would say, and we're on the calls with Trump. Well, doggone it, you all should be in the White House. Because
all right,
clearly,
quiet down, everybody. Boy, thank you. That was a little feisty. We are now going to do something brand new. Square off, speak off. Speak out on Square Off. Here is a letter that was emailed to our website from Linda R. in Canton. I've been watching Square Off for years, but it's much easier now not to miss it since I can tune in anytime during the week, 24/7, without having just one show on Sundays. And Robert S. in Towson. So sorry Dr. Vatz retired from the panel. He is so insightful and well prepared. Please try to lure him back from time to time. We'll do that. So if you'd like to write, let us know what you're thinking. Go to squareoff.net, click on We Want Your Feedback, and we might read it on the air. Thank you all for writing. Phil, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And Shannon, of course, Jimmy and Chris. Thank you all so much. Please be sure to tune in next week when once again we square off. Go, go. Bye-bye.
See you all.